go, 5-stroke roll. Okay, so next thing that we have here, uh, first rudiment for the second half of the class here is going to be Darren, and he's going to show you the double stroke long roll.
Hello, everybody, again. Actually, I have a question for Lauren. So, Lauren, when you were doing the open to close to open, so Lauren is in the military. I think she I mentioned that. And all these rudiments come from the military, right? So, if anybody among us knows how to play rudiments, it's Lauren because she's in the army now. And so when you play rudiments for whether you're auditioned to get into the military or when you're playing in the military and they ask you to play open, close to open, do you do what you just did, which is keeping it a double stroke roll, or do you go ahead and make it a closed roll at the fast speed?
I go ahead and leave them open, even at the faster tempos. So the the term is misconstrued a lot, and a lot of the times when folks are asking for open to close to open, with the exception of the long roll, in which case, Darren, you played it crush roll as a buzz roll at the end. A lot of times, what they're asking for the military is they want to see how cleanly you can play it, meaning with your double strokes as open as possible, as fast as possible. So playing from slow to fast and then back down to slow.
Good, good. So I mean, that's a good point to know because, I mean, Lauren would know being in the military, but, a lot of these things came from that tradition. Um, and there's obviously different interpretations. Some people do actually close it off and they want it that, and some judges want that. And so you kind of have to kind of know to whom you're playing and what the standard, every state has a different standard as far as how they want things played. Iowa probably different than South Dakota is different than Nebraska, and we have
Absolutely.
three states being represented here. So I know that we have all these different ways of looking at things. So that's good to hear. So good.
Great.
So we were talking about the long roll, and this is going to piggyback on what I said earlier, and then picking up from where Lauren was talking about the roll. Um, to me, the key to playing a good open roll is being relaxed. It's impossible to play it if you have tension. I've heard a lot of people in their drum line, they're trying to play a roll and they can't get it to happen. And someone says, oh, you got to tighten it up. You got to tighten up your hand. That's the absolute worst thing you can do. The tighter you are, the more it's going to be a closed roll. Okay. So you have to stay relaxed the whole time you're playing. Exactly what Lauren said. If you're not relaxed, there's never any way you're going to get a good open roll. It's just not going to happen. So when you start off at the very slow tempo, doing a very, very, very slow open roll is very easy. All right. So we can look at the Stone Stick Control book, and number 3 on the first page of Stick Control. All it is right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left. And that's very easy to do at a slow tempo, but that's exactly what we want to do when we start that double stroke roll. All right. We don't want to start doing the bounces right off the bat. We want to make sure we're just playing eighth notes or quarter notes or however you're conceiving it, nice and slow. And I'm noticing, I think these cameras reverse our bodies. So it looks like I'm holding this in my right hand, but this is my left hand. Is that correct? Does this look like, yes. So I am holding this is my left hand. This is my right hand. So don't think that we're, yes. Anyway, so when you're starting really, really slowly, nice and open, and typically it's going to be fairly loud, all right, because you're at a slow tempo and you have the luxury of being nice and loud. All right. Again, bouncing out of the drum, staying relaxed. Your pinky, the pinky to me is the most important finger on the stick because if this pinky comes off the stick, it ain't going to happen. All right, you got to keep that pinky on the stick. The reason this pinky doesn't do a whole lot of work, but if I take the pinky off the stick, what that means is I'm tightening up. All right, the moment my pinky comes off the stick, my other four fingers have to work harder, and I'm going to pinch and I'm going to crush my roll. All right, so regardless of how fast we're getting and how loud or soft or whatever you're playing, that pinky, when you're doing a double stroke roll, has to stay on the stick. And I'm assuming, and I don't know this for sure, but when Ron gets to the closed roll, he's going to say a different technique because it's a different way of holding the stick when you do a closed roll versus open roll. But an open roll, you got to keep that pinky on the stick. All right, the moment that comes off, you're going to crush it, and it's not going to be consistent. So as we speed it up, as we get closer to being a roll, what we want to make sure is that both of the bounces, the first and the second note of each hand, are the same volume. All right, it's very easy to have the first one being louder than the second one. That's a very common problem, okay? So to make sure that they're the same dynamic level, I have a little exercise that I've done for years, and this is a really fun exercise to play, and it really pushes me to make my bounces consistent. What I do is I just do a double stroke roll, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left. But my first right, instead of being on beat 1, it's on the last 16th note of the previous beat. All right. So if we're keeping a pulse, 1, 2, 3, 4, a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. So what I'm doing is the second note of each hand is on the beat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to accent that second note of each hand. So I'm really going to be accenting the second note of each bounce. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that what happens is when I speed that up, I'm not going to be able to really maintain the accent at that volume, but I'm going to be more consistent, each note being the same volume. Okay, so let's back up a step. I want to have you guys play along with me. So everybody get your pad and sticks out. We're going to start with really slow right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left. Just that first exercise out of the stick control book. That tempo, okay? So these are going to be our notes. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and right, right, left, left, right, right, left. Two more. Good, good, good. Now we're going to do the same thing, just a little faster. We're going to go ahead and jump ahead to a little bit faster, okay? We're going to go this tempo. Right, right, left, left, ready, and right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right. Good. Now we're going to jump ahead a little faster. Make sure you're being consistent, and each note is the same volume, all right? Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right. Good, good, good. So we want to keep speeding that up. And like I mentioned earlier, at the beginning of this of our session, you need to make sure you're consistent and you're speeding up evenly, and then you're slowing down evenly. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate how that would be from slow to fast to slow. Okay, and of course I'm doing it on a practice pad, so we'll see how the sound works. Okay, so ideally you should sound something like this. And exactly what Ron said, Don't go faster than you can play it perfectly and cleanly. All right. On this practice pad, I can't play as fast as I would on a regular drum, so I can't play super fast. But there's nothing wrong with that. No judge wants you to hear you play faster than you can play cleanly. They want to hear you play really, really cleanly, all the way from slow to fast to slow. So great. I think I can't remember who is next. Is it Lauren?
Thanks, Darren. Yeah, I'll take it from here. I'm gonna talk to you guys a little bit about paradiddles and then flam paradiddles here as well. And before I get into those, I did want to just remind everybody that after this session is over here, again, there's going to be questions here at the end, and we'll answer all the questions that there are. But if you want to go back and revisit this session, you can certainly go on the Sioux City Symphony Facebook page and go ahead and rewatch this. And if you didn't catch something the first time, you can go back and really practice with it and use this during your daily practice sessions. So there we go. Okay, so now we'll go into the paradiddle. And Ethan, if you can go ahead and bring that list back up there, we'll just look at it here briefly before we start playing. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the single paradiddle there at the top. So as you can see, the beat is accented on this, followed by constant 16th notes, and they have different sticking patterns on them. Paradiddles are naturally something that you can play alternating paradiddles, meaning the first one's going to lead with the right, the next paradiddle is going to lead with the left, and so on and so forth. They flow constantly from one to the other. You'll probably rarely ever see two right paradiddles happen in a row sticking wise, because it just feels very awkward in the hands. So that's years down the road, a little more advanced. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll practice some single paradiddles, and then we'll jump back and talk a little bit on the flam paradiddles here as well. So here we go. Okay, so the hardest thing with the paradiddle is remembering where you are when you're playing the paradiddle. Where in that group of four for the notes is where you are. So go ahead, Ethan, and leave that up there so everybody can still just visualize the paradiddle. They'll see me in the little small screen. That'll be great. So really just kind of concentrate as we go through this. We're going to start real slow. I'll play four. You guys will join on the next four, just like what we did before. And we'll just kind of get these going here. Just like what we talked about with the 5-stroke roll, we want to make sure that our hands are matching each other as far as stick heights. The only note that's going to be louder or higher than the others is going to be the accent that happens on the beat. And as Darren reminded us too, stay loose when you're playing this, stay relaxed, and away we go. So I'll do 4, you guys come in on the next 4. We're going to start really slow, okay? So, right, left, right, and here you go, enter now. Good. And just kind of keeping that pattern. You can play paradiddles as you're watching TV and everything, and just kind of get it so that it really gets ingrained in your head. Just kind of the natural flow of the rhythm. You know, you can have a conversation, talk to your parents, talk to your friends on the phone, Snapchat, whatever, and just kind of play your paradiddles too. And before long, you know, you can play them anytime, anywhere. And it's great. Then you don't really have to think about it. It's just kind of, so like breathing, right? So we're going to keep speeding these up here a little bit. And enter here. Go another round. Good. And as you keep practicing these paradiddles and everything, as you get faster, It's you can apply some of the same concepts that we used with the five-stroke roll and the long roll, in that as you get faster, you can start to almost bounce those second two same note, same hand notes. So what I mean is, if I take out that single note that happens on the left hand for the first paradiddle here, what am I playing? I'm playing a big note and two smaller notes, right? So if I do this completely out of time, this is kind of what it sounds like. So the second two notes, the second and third note of that, is really just kind of a bounce, almost off of all of the inertia of the first note. So if I put that second left-hand note back in there, it kind of sounds like this. Okay? And you can do that on the left hand as well. Without the right-hand note on the second. So it's kind of a rebound thing. So as you're doing these faster, they just kind of naturally start to flow together, makes your paradiddles sound nice and even and clean with just one accent and note on them. So here's what I mean here. So it's really kind of neat to flow that back and forth. And again, you can do these while you're watching TV, you know, streaming YouTube, having a watch party with your friends, whatever. And it's really cool just to be able to get that down, so it really becomes kind of almost an automatic process. So okay, so that's the single paradiddle. We're going to go ahead and jump to the flam paradiddle here just for a brief second. So after you've mastered the single paradiddle, you can get to this flam paradiddle. And Ethan, can we scroll there? There we go. Awesome. Great. So this is rudiment number 24. So basically we're going to take the concepts that Ron had introduced before with how to do the flam, and then just kind of tack on the paradiddle for it. So I like all the writing that's happening there. So what we're doing here is we're doing a flam, then the rest of the paradiddle, okay? The accent is still the same. The only thing that we've added is that flam at the beginning, okay? And just like with what Ron had mentioned earlier, with the flam at the beginning, you want to make sure that that grace note hand stays low afterwards. Because what's the next note that's happening? A tap that's happening on the left hand. It's just a little tap, it's a light tap, so. Great, so that's kind of just a little preview there, and from there I will go ahead and turn it over to Ron here, and he will go over the multiple bounce roll.
Before Ron talks, just know that the flam paradiddle is the hardest rudiment of all. So Lauren had the hardest job of all of us, first of all. But the second thing is, don't think you have to play it fast, because it's hard.
And here's why it's hard. Look at the rudiment up there. Notice that there are 3 rights in a row, and then when you go back and repeat it, there are 3 lefts in a row. That's what I think makes it difficult. Plus that third one has to be low. You have to keep it low. If it's too high, it won't work. You'll pop the flam. So yeah. Okay, so I'll go on with the multiple bounce roll. While you've got that up, Ethan, why don't we go ahead and go to number 4 just to look at that. There's not much to see there, but I want to talk about it a little bit. Notice that there's a Z through that stem. And that's kind of a modern thing these days. But closed rolls, a lot of times multiple bounce rolls like this that you have in your concert band music, they won't have a Z, but they still should be closed rolls. You kind of have to know that. The only time that rolls are open usually are in marches or in marching band. It's really most of the concert music you play, unless it says to play open rolls, they're going to actually be closed rolls like that, even if they don't have the Z. Yeah, a lot of times in marching music, if they want a buzz roll, they'll put a Z through the stem like that. There's a lot of different terms for multiple bounce rolls. They can be called buzz rolls. They can be called, some people might call them closed rolls. They could be crush rolls. What are some other names, Lauren and Darren?
Orchestral roll.
Orchestral rolls.
Yep. And then just Z rolls, I've heard that.
Okay. So, so it's confusing, especially when on the, they say play a long roll. Well, that in this context, what we've been doing today, a long roll is an open roll. So it gets really confusing. But the multiple bounce roll, there can be a lot of different names, but that's really the typical one you're going to play in orchestra or in concert bands. Okay, you can take that down. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do to get ready for this, Darren mentioned that there are some differences here with this compared to the double stroke roll that he was doing. And it is almost a different technique than anything else that you're going to play on the snare drum because of the results that you want. It's actually a different kind of stroke. The strokes we were doing before, they hit the drum and they come right back up, and it's always rhythmic. They're almost always rhythmic, at least the rudiments we've done today. So this is going to be a little bit different. You're going to want the stick to do something different when it comes in contact with the head. So Darren mentioned that you have to have that for the double stroke rolls. You have to have your fingers around the sticks because you want to be using those. You don't want tension right here. Well, this is going to change a little bit. You need to have your thumb right across from your index finger. And I use it, don't actually do this. Caution, do not do this. Do not really do this. This is just an example. But if you drilled a hole right through your thumb, it should come out here. But don't do it. Don't actually do that. You want your thumb right across from your index finger. I want to repeat, don't actually do that. So you hold the sticks a little firmer on this roll because you need a little bit of support. It won't actually work. And the other thing about this stroke, if you've got your thumbs underneath the stick when you do this, it's not going to work. That's not a good position for your thumbs no matter what you're doing anyway. But this one's really going to benefit if your thumbs are up here. Now, you don't want a lot of tension, but you're going to have to put a little bit of pressure with your thumb there. And then also the tips of your fingers, especially your index finger, maybe the second finger, are going to just kind of gently squeeze when you're doing this. So that's different than the rest of the rudiments. But since you mix this up with other rudiments, you have to be ready to change and relax the grip just a little bit for the other kinds of rudiments. So you don't want your hands out of position. You don't want to change anything really because you have to switch between rudiments. Okay, and the other thing that's different, out of all these other rudiments that you've done, there's a couple other things that are different. One is, this one is not going to be so much wrist. It's going to be more arm, actually. You can use wrist and make this work, but it actually works better if you use more arm. So you need to try to keep your wrists really straight. The other thing, before we start an exercise here that I'll mention, this one, when you do an example for a lot of different auditions, you're not going to play it open, closed, open. You're actually going to play it soft, loud, soft. So like pianissimo to fortissimo, back to pianissimo. And we'll do that. We'll demonstrate that at the end. Okay, so I'm going to give you an exercise that you need to do here. So everyone just take the right stick. You're going to put plenty of pressure, but don't overdo it right here. And then you're going to come down and you're going to let it bounce on the head as many times as you can get it to go. Right now, we're not going to worry about the sound. We just want to make lots of bounces. So just do that with me. You want to do the best you can to keep it loose, but you want to try to use more arm and less wrist. Now let's do that with the left hand. Ready? Go. Now the thing you might notice, I noticed it right off the bat, and it's like the bane of my existence. My left hand doesn't sound like my right hand. That's the goal here. We've got to try to make the left hand sound just as good as the right hand. So what we can do next is do alternating that same exercise. We're just going to go let it bounce as many times as we can. We're not going to worry about the roll right now. We just want to get this feeling for this. Okay? So that's kind of the basics of it. You want to learn to use your arm here. It will work with wrist. You can actually do that. But in general, when you get going, you're going to find this is a lot easier just to use arms on this roll. So here's the next exercise we're going to do. It's a little bit complicated, but I think it's really helpful. And what we're going to do is kind of break up the roll, right hand and left hand, so we can measure the two hands against each other. So just watch, don't play. I don't know how well that you can hear that on the pad, but we're just doing right, 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 left, 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 right, 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 left, 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 and roll after that. Let's do that together. See if you can do that with me. Ready, go. Right now we're trying to play kind of loud. But this roll, like we said, we're going to do it soft to loud, soft, and we can use different regions of the head. Now, you don't always want to use different regions of the head for dynamics, but for this works pretty good because the head bounces a little different out here than it does back here. And it's easier to get a softer roll out near the edge. So we can do that same exercise, and let's for now just split it up into 3 regions. We're going to play really soft right there. We're going to play medium loud about there, and almost to the center. Center's not a good place for this roll, really. Almost to the center for the loud, and we're going to do that same exercise in each spot. Let's try that. So it's da 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 roll. Let's try it in each one of these places. Ready, go. And you notice I can see my fingers I don't like this, but I use a little bit more tension on my left hand than my right. So my fingers come out there just like Darren was talking about on this one. Okay, now the next thing that you can do with that is you can actually try the roll from soft to loud to soft to loud. I'm going to take this off and risk that it's going to sound okay over the microphone and demonstrate the roll. Playing pianissimo to fortissimo back and back. Here we go. Let's see if we get this down here. Okay, so mostly arms, a little bit more pressure on the thumb, and then trying to make the right and the left equal. Okay, back to Lauren.
Thanks, Ron. That was rollerific. All right, guys. So we're coming to a close here. I'd like to see, I think quite a few of you have been part of the Sioux City Symphony link-up concerts. If you have been, can you give a quick wave that you've been to one of those concerts? So thank you for that, and we do look forward to seeing you all here at our upcoming symphony concerts when we get back in the hall. So real quick here before we close, I'm going to open it up to questions here. Ethan is going to help manage those, so let's see what kind of questions we have here.
Okay, hi everybody. So this last little section is going to be open for questions that any of you have for our instructors. And the easiest way for you to let us know that you have a question is on your bar at the bottom, you should have a participants button. And when you press that, you should have a set of options that say yes, no, go slower, go faster, and then a more option. And under that more option, you should have like a raise hand. Like that. Alexis just raised her hand, and I could go to her directly and click unmute, and then she could ask her question. Likewise, if you're not near the computer or you're having problems solving it, you can just physically raise your hand, and we will try to get to you as quickly as possible. I see a couple people are figuring it out. So if anybody has a question for any of our instructors or a comment from either the students here or parents like to also be there in the room to watch this as well, we'll certainly take those. Otherwise, I do have a couple of questions coming in from outside the class as well. So if any students have any questions, go ahead and raise your hand now. Looks like Matthias has a question, so we're going to go ahead and unmute you and lower your hand. So Matthias,
hello,
go
can
ahead.
you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
we can.
I was wondering if any of you guys played in the concert you did last year for the, like, all the state came, and it was like the fourth, fifth, and third grade, I believe.
I did.
Yeah, I was there. Top row, I think, like on the top side.
Hey, we saw you.
I remember you. I remember
Yeah.
seeing you. Yes.
Yeah, that was an awesome concert. Thanks for coming.
I remember the entire bus ride home. We were all like saying, like, the conductor was just. And it looks funny from like up there because it looked like he was just like throwing his arms around.
He gets a workout with those concerts. That's great. Well, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
And then I've got a question from outside. Did any of the instructors play in marching band? And if so, which did you like better, playing in marching band or in the orchestra?
Darren, why don't we start with you?
Yes, I did. And it depended on how old I was. When I was in high school, all I wanted to do was play in marching band. I loved marching band. I loved rudimental style playing. I loved running around the field. I loved getting bruises on my hips from the drums. I liked all of that stuff. As I got older, I liked playing in orchestra more than I did playing in marching band. I still love rudimental drumming. Rudimental drumming is just awesome. I just don't want to run around a field anymore. But it kind of was depending on, but I did play in marching band quite a bit. But as I got older, I kind of liked orchestra more than I liked marching band.
And it's kind of ironic you don't want to run around in the field because you're a triathlete.
There you go. Ron, what do you think?
Well, I played, actually my beginning in percussion was with the Drum and Bugle Corps in Norfolk, Nebraska. They no longer are around, but they were the Crimson Cadets. And I actually played saxophone up, starting in 5th grade all the way through high school, actually. I played drum set and jazz band. But I joined the Drum and Bugle Corps when I was a junior in high school. And actually that was my introduction to rudimental playing. That's where I learned to play. And like Darren said, I wouldn't want to play with the fields with a drum strapped to me anymore. Those days are long gone. I enjoy standing in a nice air-conditioned hall rather than out in cement in the middle of Chicago on the July 4th day parade that we used to do. They used to be at least 5 miles, and they were uphill the whole way.
Yeah. Both ways, right?
Yeah, both ways. Yeah.
That's awesome. My experience is similar. I was in marching band in high school and in college. I love doing it. Love doing it so much that now I instruct drumline, and I think it's great. It's fantastic to watch somebody else wearing the drum. My back is very nice standing on the sidelines now without a drum on it, and I dig the WGI Winter Guard International as well as the Drum Corps International DCI sports. I think they're fantastic outlets of creativity and rudimental drumming, hybrid rudimental drumming. I think it's all wonderful. But I do love playing in the orchestra, and it's a different type of emotion, different type of musical styles, and musical concepts that are involved in those pieces. And so I just love both of them, but really enjoy playing in the orchestra in my old age now. So.
All right, and then our next one, I'm gonna kind of combine it two, and it's a little more fun. Do any of the instructors play in rock bands? And then, if not, are there any works for orchestra that allow you to play like that, to kind of rock out on your percussion instruments?
I do. I play jazz and rock. I'm in a rock band in that's based out of Yankton, South Dakota, called Rockerville. I also play in the Austin Busher Band, which is a blues band, blues rock band. So yeah, I play rock quite a bit, and it's great being an orchestral player and a rock drummer because they're usually on different nights, and it's fun to be able to go back and forth, being able to play timpani one night and then play some Jimi Hendrix the next night. It's always fun to do.
I don't play in a rock band anymore, but in high school, I played in various rock bands from time to time, and in college too, I guess a little bit. I've played in jazz bands around the region and so forth. And also Darren and I and Lauren, sometimes we might play drum set in symphony. There might be a drum set part in symphony as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we've all rocked out at one point or another in the symphony. I'm also in a rock band with the 43rd Army Band. I have there's a smaller musical ensemble within the unit that's called the Black Hawk Brass, and we rock out a lot of the time.
All right, and then unless anybody else has additional questions, that is all I've got.
Going once, going twice. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for all of our participants. Thank you, students, for sticking with us here. This has been great. If you think of any follow-up questions, please feel free to message the Symphony on the Facebook page, Sioux City Symphony. And please come back and join us for another session here. We've got another lesson here scheduled here tomorrow and an excerpt class here later in the week. We also have a couple different videos up from a couple earlier sessions in the week. So check them out. They're a lot of fun. And I think Darren's doing a xylophone rag here tomorrow and marimba rag. So lots of fun stuff. So keep practicing. Always practice. Enjoy your percussion lessons and have fun with your teachers. Bye,
Thank
guys.
you. Thank you.
Bye.